This documentary will focus on coffee culture in Australia. By documenting various factors of what makes coffee culture so prominent around the world, we'll be able to unveil the components of various cultures and how they pair their relationship between social and lifestyle qualities of coffee drinkers around the world. With over 23,000 cafes in Australia, we are one of the most demanding coffee drinkers in the world. But why is this? Around 75% of the population are coffee drinkers, with 28% of that population having 3 or more cups per day. With the average coffee price in Australia being third cheapest in the world, coffee drinkers have nothing to worry about. Research has shown that the positive effects of a cup of joe outweighs the negative immensely. As the modern diet continues to change, studies show that consuming a cup of coffee per day can decrease the risk of a range of diseases, including Alzheimer's, dementia, and type 2 diabetes. But what makes Australian coffee so good? The difference between coffee in America and Australia is simply the fact that majority of cafes are owned by small and independent businesses. As a result, the commercialization of major coffee businesses such as Starbucks have very little success in Australia. By decreasing the mass production of coffee, the standard of bean and barista essentially is taken to a new level. By getting up and close with those who work in this industry and understanding their perspective and importance that macadamia, almond, oat, or whatever floats your boat cup of coffee has on the average Australian. The way in which this documentary will be conducted will include a range of sources and will not limit any focus areas to ensure that a unique form of narrative is developed. By focusing on coffee lovers themselves, the nature of this film will be essentially to use footage that promotes a positive storyline surrounding coffee lifestyle and essentially what keeps cafes' doors open. By replicating the nature of the cafe within this documentary, it will capture a sense of informality and calmness. The way in which this will be captured is essentially by moving the camera into the main source itself. The atmospheric qualities of a cafe will provide an appropriate atmosphere for the viewer. Alongside archival footage, diagrams and graphics, interviews with customers and baristas will provide a rounded take on the cafe experience and lifestyle. Limiting the film's focus to a singular cafe may restrict content and its ability to analyse different demographics surrounding the subject at hand. So, recording footage in both coastal and city regions will allow a contrast between the two lifestyles and how the average consumer approaches purchasing a cup of coffee. This aspect of the film will allow the use of secondary sources in the form of maps, photographs, and statistics to further represent a range of factors at play. But what has influenced this documentary? Various filmmakers can take a topic and present it in an engaging and inspiring nature, and this is exactly what this documentary looks to achieve. Although the whole topic surrounding drinking a cup of coffee is no thriller to any extent, it will look to accomplish a positive reaction from the viewer through the 7 to 8 minutes of footage. Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee is a Netflix series which portrays comedian and producer Jerry Seinfeld sharing a cup of coffee with fellow celebrities in vintage cars and sharing a few words. The simple nature and relationship between the individual and the experience of going into a cafe with a peer is one I look to integrate within the documentary. The film Barista is a documentary produced and written by Rock Bajnaf and follows the experiences of 5 baristas competing for the title of the best barista. The film highlights the fact that coffee is simply more than a beverage, but an art form which can be perfected. This notion is exactly what I look to emulate within the project, by delving into the eyes of a barista and how they create the perfect cup of joe. This documentary will look to portray an atmosphere which molds the likes of these two films, Barista and Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, by taking these two drastically different films or series and portraying the overall subject and importance of barista, whilst exploring the casual nature and overall experience of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, will allow a blend that creates a unique film that allows the core experience and feeling when making and consuming a cup of coffee. Production planning is vital to ensuring the film is produced to a high standard and depicts the points at hand. Allocating crew roles such as sound, camera, editing, scripting, producing early in the production piece will allow each member to execute their role under a comfortable schedule. Also, ensuring each member has the appropriate equipment such as cameras, microphones, editing software, internet connection is always vital to efficient and a high standard of production. This documentary will be filmed in 3 potential locations: a suburban cafe, a coastal cafe. Studio footage will be filmed at UOW, as well as voiceovers and external audio. The schedule will look like the following. The method and concept of this project has been thoroughly revealed throughout this presentation. It has the ability to provide a reasonable subject, which will provide the audience an insight into coffee culture, in particular coffee culture in Australia. Coffee culture in Australia is not exactly contemporary in itself, but in recent years has proven extremely relevant to an active and social lifestyle. As a result, the topic at hand will provide a theory which is feasible in terms of its core principles. By planning and researching methods to undertake this project, it will guarantee that the project will go through a range of drafts in line with the schedule to essentially provide a high standard of filmmaking and production.